ears are very important to us. Please hold on, and our program will begin shortly. The Soundcheck podcast is coming up. Please continue to hold. Keep up with the Soundcheck podcast and everything that's happening in the New Sounds empire. Just go to newsounds.org and follow us on social media. All of the icons are in the top right corner of the page. All of our other musicians are currently playing for other customers. Please stay with us, and someone will play for you in just a moment. The Soundcheck podcast is coming up. You can watch us on Facebook. Please continue to hold. The staff of the Soundcheck podcast reminds you to brush your teeth regularly and floss at least twice an hour. Subscribe to the Soundcheck From newsounds.org, this is another in our live series of in-studio performances that we call the Soundcheck Podcast. Streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, I'm John Schaefer. Big Bend is a collaborative project led by pianist Nathan Phillips. He has assembled a kind of rotating cast of musicians that has included the veteran ambient zither player Laraji, the renowned slide guitarist Susan Alcorn, and many others. For us today, he has assembled a version of Big Bend to play some music from the album called Radish, which is full of songs that inhabit a kind of gray area between art song, pop song, and ambient music. This first one is called Can't Get Around.
Where did it all turn? Did I how to be an enemy to everything? The change full in my eyes that I don't want to go go home like this. But I can't seem to pivot around. No matter what I do, I can't get around. Can't get around. I was just getting back, learning the road, push pulling hard. Even without a crowd, I still can't get around. Can't get around.
The song is called Can't Get Around, and that is Big Bend, performing live in our studio on this edition of the Soundcheck podcast from newsounds.org. Big Bend is led, as always, by pianist and singer and bell player and composer Nathan Phillips. Nathan, good to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
With Zosha Warpeha playing the 5-string violin, which gets her down into viola range, and Christopher Botta back in our studio with electric guitar. Chris was here with Oracle Hysterical and with Cellar and Point before that. Now here with Big Bend. And the story of how these songs, Nathan, how these songs came about is really unusual. For example, the idea that what you just played is somehow connected to Arvo Pärt's Tabula Rasa,
Right.
a piece for prepared piano and strings. How does that happen?
So that essentially came about just from trying to jar myself into a new territory as far as vocal melodies, especially. Mm-hmm. So
this is the first time we've heard you sing, isn't it?
Yes, right. The prior album was all instrumental. So yeah. So yeah, these were kind of just late night turning on the Arvo Pärt station at the coffee shop I worked at, and would just kind of sing along just to see, if you're trying to guess the next chord, it kind of will. For me, it had the effect of sort of breaking me into a new melodic structure that I wouldn't have come up with otherwise. So,
and then once you had come up with something, you stripped away the original Arvo Pärt stuff and came up with your own music.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't even hearing an echo of
Right.
the tabula rasa there, which makes sense. So how did that new music come together? I mean, the idea of Big Bend seems to be, as I said in introducing it, kind of a rotating cast of, there are lots of people coming and going on this record, on Radish.
Yeah. So, yeah, that would be the other sort of channel going, is that also musically I was looking for something that could sort of stretch stretch my musical inclinations in a different direction, and in having like such a wide range of musicians helped a lot in doing that. So that was kind of the...
So you had Aaron Roach and Shahzad Ismaili, who were both well-known figures on the New York music scene. I mentioned Susan Alcorn and Laraji before. Were they all? Was it always groups of four?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. The live improv sessions we would do were at Figure Eight over in Brooklyn, where
that isn't that Shahzad's?
Exactly, Shahzad's studio,
yeah.
And also where I met Zosha and Chris. So yeah, those recording sessions would take place in a group of four. Most of us hadn't really played together. I'd played with Aaron a lot before that, but everyone else, it was kind of a new thing. So it was pretty fun.
And so you have these improvisational settings, and then what happens? You have, so from listening to Arvo Pärt, you have this kind of melodic idea, and
Exactly.
then you have these improvs that you've recorded. How does that become a song?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean,
well, you did it, so there must be an answer.
Yeah, eventually it formed into something, but yeah, it's like a real pain in the ass to, figure out, how to make any sense of it, I guess. But
so, what we hear on the record are those kind of edited versions of the improvs, or you took the best parts and kind of wrote around them. How did that work?
Exactly. So yeah, each session was like, I don't know, probably 2 to 3 hours long, and then there was with the track with Susan Alcorn that's on Radish, it was just 2 minutes of that session that really made sense in the context of the record. So I just left it as is. And that was the same of the Laraji track as well.
Well, now you mentioned Susan Alcorn. She's on the track called 12 to 15, right? Mm-hmm. Which you're going to do next. And so in turning live improvisations into songs, that was one thing. Now you have to reverse engineer the songs to be playable by a live ensemble that's different from the one that was on the record. So what are we about? I mean, how fixed are these songs? How mutable are they?
Well, I think I'm still trying to figure it out, but it does seem to be working to just take this sort of same concept of improvising in new arrangements of people with some similar themes, and just kind of seeing what happens, which is, kind of the spirit of the record. A little bit.
So with the three of you here today, the song will be still the song. It's an instrumental track, though. So
yeah.
But it'll still be recognizably 12 to 15?
I hope so.
All right, well, let's find out. We're speaking with Nathan Phillips, who leads the ensemble called Big Bend. Maybe I can ask you where that title comes from in a bit. But let's hear this piece called 12 to 15. The title refers to what?
So just a period of years, 2012 to 2015, and just has personal significance to me. But as you pointed out earlier, if you're gonna mark the years on if you're gonna shorten the years, it's apostrophe comes before the digits.
You have 12 apostrophe to 15 apostrophe, which I read as 12 to 15 feet.
Yeah.
So we'll just call it 12 to 15 and call it a day. Let's hear a live performance by Big Bend here in our studio. Once again, we've heard a performance in our studio from the ensemble Big Bend, a trio today. Nathan Phillips at the piano, Zosha Warpeha playing the violin, Chris Botta on electric guitar, and a piece called 12 to 15. So your part, Nathan, seems to have, it's coming from the same place as the original version, it seems.
Yeah.
But Zosha and Chris are kind of in the moment, right?
New parts, yeah.
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 So, do these songs all, do they have a kind of a set form? Do some of the melodies that you originally were singing along to Arvo Pärt song pieces to, do those melodies stay from performance to performance, or you just haven't worked that out yet?
Yeah, so the tour I just finished up a couple weeks ago, by the end of the tour, I'd kind of come up with a few different melodies, but for the most part, it kind of like once I established the melodies via those that random sequence of radio station plays, it was
You're talking about like a Pandora station,
exactly,
right? Yeah.
So once I established it from that, I kind of more or less stuck to that melodic form.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is almost like, a jazz standard has a head, that.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where does the name Big Bend come from?
So I just thought I liked the idea of like a sort of, one note just being really stretched out and just bent. And I just thought that a big bend is a cool idea. And then when I looked it up, found it was a state park or national park.
Really? Where?
In Texas. Have y'all been there? No. But yeah, it's I think I want to say it's near Houston.
Well, then go ahead and say it.
Yeah, yeah, it's near Houston.
I don't know any
Turns
better.
out it's near Houston. Yeah.
And Radish, what does the title of the album refer to?
So that's that is kind of based on this idea of sort of you think something is a certain way, i.e. like you're eating something that you think is as sweet as a cherry, that you come to find out is a radish, which similar size, color, but yeah.
Has that happened to you, Nathan? You thought you were
No,
eating
never,
a cherry? And
never,
it was
never. I don't know what that's like. Yeah.
So the idea that a song can present as one thing while really being something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's that, and then just sort of personal, life things too.
Yeah. So do these songs have a lyrical connection? Do they cohere in terms of the content of the words?
Yeah. So as sort of it does. Like there's sort of a story there that I was kind of hoping to get at, that is just I hope it comes across as just fairly straightforward and relatively easy to understand, but yeah, it's it's kind of like just things I was going through, via kind of like depression or just like personal demons, and kind of like working through that and figuring out like management strategies around that is sort of that was that time period that I was sort of writing these songs. So I think it's probably a bit reflective of that.
What I got from the songs that actually have lyrics was someone finding his or her way. And it sounds like maybe that
absolutely
is not a bad way to tell that story. Yeah. What about your own story? I mean, your mom was a singer, right?
Yeah, still is, yeah.
And is on the record. She's the lead vocalist on one of the tracks.
Yeah.
What kind of music does she sing?
So yeah, she sings in mostly musicals, and then she also sings in a choir, and will occasionally do like an operatic kind of performance in her town in Mansfield, Ohio, where my folks live. Yeah.
And her father was a composer?
Yeah. So he was a sort of a serial composer in Cincinnati, and taught at conservatory there in Cincinnati.
What was his name?
Scott Houston is his name.
Okay. So like mid-century high modernism,
exactly.
12-tone music.
Hard to, yeah.
So you grew up with some of that in the house?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The apple fell far from the tree.
Yeah, real far.
Yeah. Or the Radish, I guess, as the case may be. But so Radish is your second record, is that right?
Yes.
As Big Bend.
As Big Bend, yeah.
Okay. The first one is all instrumental. The second one, you've committed to songwriting.
Yeah.
After a fashion.
Yeah.
And so what happens next? I mean, is this kind of spawned a new way of working for you?
Yeah, I think it got me thinking that I'd like to continue moving in that direction, because that's, for whatever reason, that's catching my ear right now. It's just more song written stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, by the end of the album, this sense of watching and listening as someone tries to find their way, it reaches, if not a conclusion, at least a sense of finding some kind of peaceful moment, and that's Floating. That's the tune you're going to do next, right?
Yeah.
And so this one, again, has words. On the album, it's a very kind of ambient sounding piece. So, without a whole lot of, obviously Chris has all the pedals and effects for his guitar, but, without a whole lot of electronics at hand, how do you recreate that sense of floating?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we'll give it a go and see how we can do that. But
all right, fair enough. Let's hear another live performance from Big Bend. The album, the most recent one, is called Radish, and here's a trio version of a song called Floating.
Floating in a cloud and getting old. Gliding up the levels, finally sold on the idea of getting old. I was choking on a radish I thought was a cherry, like the way it was with your power. It looked like love, it looked like love.
Oh, that's lovely. That's called Floating, live performance from Big Bend, a trio version. Nathan Phillips at the piano. And what was the shaker thing? Just like a can of something.
Yeah, can of beans that they put some stuff in.
Yeah. And once again, Chris Botta playing the electric guitar and Zosha Warpeha playing the 5-string violin. And by the end of the song, it was just the three of you. But the real answer to my question of how do you get that kind of floating ambient thing was tucked away in your iPod, as it turns out.
Yeah, it was a secret.
So in both the first and the third songs, there was a kind of backing track. So that gives these songs a structure that everybody has to play to as well.
Yeah. That's been the sort of saving grace live, is just sort of having like a thing to sort of hinge on a bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And do the live performances tend to change personnel a lot? Is Big Bend different from night to night?
Yeah. So in the last 2 weeks of the tour, it changed a lot. But the first couple weeks, I was trying to keep it the same. Yeah. So just sort of
either way,
feeling it out each night. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're heading off on tour again. Will it be different people each place, or?
Yeah. So this one will be just like these international dates will just be solo. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
5 more shows.
So Big Bend can scale down even further than this.
Yeah, apparently.
All right.
Tear down.
Well, Nathan, Radish is a really lovely record, and thanks to the three of you for coming in and playing some of it for us today.
Thanks so much for having us.
All right. This is Soundcheck.